Real Estate War Stories. I'm your host, Felicia, aka your favorite home agent. Do not forget to like and subscribe. I am so happy I have my guest Ariana here today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
If you can go ahead, introduce yourself. What do you do? I know you wear multiple hats, and how long you've been in the business.
Okay, so my name is Ariana Solis. I am a licensed mortgage and insurance broker. I have been in real estate since 2019. And yeah, I've lived a few lives. Landlord, I was an agent at one point. God bless you guys. And now lender and insurance.
Wow, so you probably have too many to choose from, but
I focus on the lending.
Okay, gotcha. So
lending.
what is your real estate war story?
The homicide house. So just jump right in.
Just jump right in.
So I bought my house 4 months before the pandemic hit, which was a steep learning curve. I'm from the Bronx, so I was a lifelong renter. Everyone I know, lifelong renters. Nobody had the experience really of owning a home, firstly, much less being a landlord. On top of that, it being out of state. So, you know, we jumped in head first. I jumped in head first. I jumped in head first and I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I was involved with somebody at the time that they went and bought a house in Newark, and I was like, if they can do it, I can do it. And then I did that, and 4 months later, the pandemic hit. That same month, I had taken in a tenant, and she came in. It was supposed to be her and her kid. Everything was supposed to be fine. And the pandemic hit that same month, so I had no real vibe of her as a tenant at all. Later that year, about 6 months down the road, I got a phone call. I had sat down on my couch with some tacos and a cider. I was so excited. I got a phone call from a 203 number, Connecticut zip code. I'm in the Bronx, so I'm like, something's happening, Sunday, 10 p.m. Who's calling you at that time? I pick up the phone and I get, hi Ariana, this is Ariana firstly, like, this is Lieutenant such and such from the Bridgeport Police Department. And if you grew up the way I did, you know that lieutenants don't work on a Sunday night, especially not making calls. So we have a little discussion. He's like, do you know a so-and-so? Didn't know who that was. And he's like, yeah, there's been a homicide tonight. And we see that you have cameras in front. Cameras I only had because of a fire, but that's a different horror story.
They're always good to have.
They're always good to have, so definitely get them. But he's like, we need to pull the footage. So I go up the next day, sit down with detectives in the house in the little room that I had the security cameras set up in. They're pulling footage. And what we saw that happened was that the tenant that I had brought in, her and the baby supposedly, she had everybody living in the apartment. So she had her brother, she had her boyfriend who was the baby daddy, like everybody was living in the apartment. And you see in the video where she's dragging out a laundry bag, like doing the whole like, whatever. So you can't hear it, but you know what's happening. She's kicking out the guy, right? So he's coming behind her like with the hand motions.
Okay. I thought you were going to say that she was dragging
Oh, no.
That's what I thought you were getting at. Oh my God. I was
Imagine.
like, where's the story going right now?
That would be a good SBU episode. No. So she's dragging out a laundry bag. Oh my God, I never thought of that.
I'm like, wait, is this case closed? Am I going to get subpoenaed?
No, but there are articles about it.
Okay.
So she drags out the laundry bag. He's coming behind her like, whatever. So they're arguing in the front lawn. At one point, she swings on him. He swings back. This whole time, though, there's a car parked in front. 2 people get out of the car. So I don't know if they were there waiting. Why were you there? But fine. They get out of the car. They're now involved. So it's 2 guys, 2 girls at this point. The apartment above her, because it's a 4-family house, the apartment above her was basically a trap house at that point, thanks to COVID and everybody coming to stay. Like when we cleaned it out, needles, pipes, all of that. They come down and they get involved because they see their neighbor like in a fight. So they're like, now it's us. It's like 8 people on the front lawn having a full-on brawl. At some point it stops. I don't know what happened. They get up. They're all walking inside except the boyfriend, ex, whatever at that moment. He's standing outside. And because of how they treated the property, there's debris everywhere. He picks up a brick and throws it at the group of people walking back inside. And one of those people was her brother. He goes and grabs a knife, chases this kid down the block. So that part didn't end up on video, thankfully, because I would have had to watch it at some point. But he chases him down the block, stabs him to death, comes back to my property, throws the knife in the backyard. Why? I'll never understand that part. But he goes and throws the knife in the backyard. So as I'm sitting here watching this with the detectives, they're like, so the knife's here. So they go out and they literally, while I'm sitting there, they go out, they go get the knife, and they're coming back to where the room is, and then they look at me, they're like, actually, no, we don't want you to see it. Apparently it was so bad that the knife bent from where it was hitting the sidewalk.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So obviously now they're looking for him because he went MIA. They were originally from New York. I don't remember what part, but they did find him in Staten Island. So the U.S. Marshals got involved. It became a whole thing because across state lines. And then that was my first eviction also because you can't do that. I don't want that kind of smoke.
But hopefully an easy one because you had
This was COVID.
Oh,
so
God.
She moved in March 1st. COVID hit March whatever, right? 2-3 weeks later. And at that point there was the eviction moratorium. So getting anything done with the courts was impossible. It wasn't impossible, thankfully, because Connecticut is at least somewhat landlord friendly. So there's still some sort of movement that can be done. And they had an eviction moratorium minus 4 reasons. I forgot what the other 3 were. It was if there's drug activity, there's prostitution or something. It had to be some crazy criminal violation or a safety hazard to the other tenants or the landlord. So obviously a homicide is a safety concern. And I filed for that. This was December of 2020. It happened December 13th or something. So
oh my God, that's my birthday.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So I mean, my bad. Well, at least that's something nicer now. On December 13th, I could be like, happy birthday.
Yeah, you can't forget it now.
No, definitely not. But yeah, so I go to the court and I'm like, I don't even know where to start because the buildings are closed. You can only go this day or that day. The first time I went to court, they thought I was a tenant and not a landlord, but whatever. And luckily, and it just goes to show how real estate is all about who you know, because I get to the window and I'm talking to the lady that's there, the court clerk, and she's talking to me about whatever, we're doing the paperwork, and I'm like, thank God it's in Connecticut, because I know in New York this would have been disgusting. She's like, oh, you're from New York? I'm like, yeah, what part? I'm from the Bronx. Oh, me too. And then that became my best friend. She's like a middle-aged Puerto Rican lady from the Bronx, and that's my people's. So she was like, no, listen, mama, this is what you do, da, 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 da. And she was super cool about it, explained everything to me in detail, and was like, this is what you have to file, then you have to get the marshal, and then you have to do this, and then you have to do that. And she walked me through the process. It was like, great. By the end of February, the girl was out. So this is starting in the pandemic, right before Christmas, where the courts are gonna be closed anyway. I went to court via Zoom. So I'm sitting there, in my underwear, having the conversation with the judge, yeah.
She has pants on now.
I have pants on, I swear. But yeah, so it was 2 months total between starting the process and getting her out. And I had filed some paperwork wrong, so I had to redo it. So the process in Connecticut is actually very, very quick. It's 2-3 months maybe. So yeah, eventually she was removed. She took her stuff out, she left. I had to do some repairs in the apartment because obviously they're never gonna leave it nice. And now I have a nice nurse in there and she's super chill, and there's still evidence tape on one of the door frames.
Oh my God.
But we just painted over it because if you tried, it was so bad. It was so bad,
But now you probably can handle anything now.
Oh yeah,
landlord.
That was my landlord hazing. I feel like that was the intro to it. Everything after that has been messy because there have been more evictions, but that one being the way it was like, now you know the process. Everything else after that, it's like, oh, they haven't paid rent. At least they're not killing people. So there's that.
I guess that's a great point. So what piece of advice, and it could be anything related from mortgage to other landlords out there to realtors, that you would like to give today that might be helpful?
Learn as much as you can, prepare as much as you can. What helped me get the house period was that I was always on top of my credit, even if I didn't know about real estate until I did. But my credit was always on point. I was always saving and trying to invest. Hustling is always a thing. So it's like, okay, I have money in stocks. So get your money right, get your credit right. Even if you're not sure if you want to be a landlord, you're not sure if you want to buy a property, whatever, just make sure your stuff on the back end is good, and learn as much as you can from as many different people, because you never know when that information is going to come in handy. So yeah, just prepare. the preparation all the time.
That's great advice. So if someone, one of our viewers want to reach out to you if they have any questions or want to get a mortgage, or you mentioned insurance, if you want to go ahead and drop your social media handle.
So my Instagram is by Ariana Solis. So it's B-Y, Ariana, A-R-I-A-N-A, Solis, S-O-L-I-S, by Ariana Solis on Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. That was very entertaining. Guys, please like and subscribe, and thank you for listening as well. Felicia, aka your favorite home agent. See you guys on the next one.